Hey everyone, my name is Dominic, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the first episode of King's Creations with Nick. And so, before we get into today's episode, I want to thank everyone who has already subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I want to thank everyone who has supported my husband Darius with his show, Your Perspective. We greatly appreciate all your support. And so, today's episode, we're going to be making from scratch a 3-layer lemon cake. And so, if you're like me, I like everything lemon. I love cake and I love things that's very sweet. And so we're going to get into today's episode. But before that, let's drop that intro. All right, family, so let's get started on this cake. As you can see here, these are our ingredients we're going to be using today. So I'm going to go through this with you. As you can see here, we have our plain white sugar, our baking powder, our baking soda, our salt, and then you can see here, these are 2 key ingredients. This is the lemon pudding mix, the Jello brand. It's a 3.4 ounce box of those. You have the Swan's Down cake flour, our buttermilk, vegetable oil that's going to help add moisture to the cake. We have our 5 large eggs at room temperature, our 2 sticks of unsalted butter, our lemons. Then you have our artificial flavorings here. So you have your pure vanilla, your lemon extract, and cake batter extract. You have your Pan Perfect release, and then you have some yellow paste food coloring. So let's get started. All right, so before we actually get into making this cake, I wanted to show you all the ingredients for the homemade buttercream frosting, the lemon buttercream frosting. You can see here we have some whole milk. You're going to be using a small amount of that. Your salt, your 4 sticks of unsalted butter, your 2 large lemons, and this is in addition to the 2 you're going to be using in the cake. Our powdered sugar, and then we have some additional flavorings here with the pure vanilla and then the pure lemon extract. And then we have a tube of yellow base food coloring to give the icing that yellow color. All right, last thing before we get into baking a cake, I want to show you all the equipment that we're going to be using to bake this cake. As you can see all the way back here, this is our stand mixer. You can also use a hand mixer if you want. We have our 2 mixing bowls and we have a sifter there. These metal cups here is what we use to measure our dry ingredients. We have this utensil here where we'll be using to zest a lemon. We have some measuring cups right here, which is for measuring liquid ingredients. And then we have our 3 9.5-inch cake pans, because this will be a 3-layer cake. So now that being said, we can jump into the cake. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and zest your 2 lemons. So as you see here, I'm just zesting this onto a cutting board, and then later on when we start mixing our cake, you will see exactly when I'm going to add this lemon zest to really give the cake that natural lemon flavoring. So that being said, let's go ahead and finish this, and then we're going to jump into everything else. All right, so after you have zest your lemons, you're going to want to go ahead and cut those in half. And then since I don't have a lemon squeeze or a lemon presser that would squeeze the lemon out for me, I'm going to go ahead and just squeeze it out with my hands. So I'm just going to squeeze it out into this measuring cup. And after you've done all 4, you should have about a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. All right, so as you see here, I've squeezed those 2 lemons, and I have probably exactly 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So what you want to do is just put that to the side, and then we'll incorporate that into our cake batter later. All right, family. So let's go ahead and start getting our dry ingredients together. And so first thing first, we're going to incorporate our Swan's Down cake flour. You can use it with whatever brand you want, but I'm using Swan's Down. And so this recipe calls for 4 cups of cake flour, and I've already pre-measured that out in this bowl here. So we're going to add this to the sifter. And for all of you that are new to baking, sifting your dry ingredients just it helps you get up all the lumps in your dry ingredients, and it also helps the cake be more fluffier and more lighter. And so that's why I like to sift my ingredients. You don't have to, but I do recommend doing that. So now we've already incorporated that 4 cups of cake flour. We're going to move on to our baking powder. And so for this recipe, it calls for 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So as you can see here, this is our measuring spoon for the 1 teaspoon. You probably can't see it because of the light, but we're going to measure out that first teaspoon. All right, let's level it off and then add it on in there. And then we're going to do the same for our second teaspoon. And then we're going to go ahead and look for the 1/2 teaspoon measurement. And that's the important thing about baking. You want to make sure that your measurements are correct. So you just scoop it out, level it off, and then add it in. So that is 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So now we're going to move on to our baking soda. So for this recipe, you don't need as much baking soda. We're only going to use 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So same thing here, just scoop it out, level it off, and then add it on in there. All right, so that's incorporated. So the next dry ingredient you're going to add is the salt. And same thing for this recipe, it's only 1 teaspoon of salt. And don't worry about it if you're not following along with the ingredients. The ingredients will be in the description box, and so you will have that. So if I'm going a little bit too fast, I do apologize, but we will have that recipe in the description box. So as you see here, we're measuring out our salt, and then you're going to just level it off slightly there, and then you're just going to incorporate that. All right, so that is done. And last but not least, we're going to add in our lemon pudding mix. This is a 3.4 ounce boxes of lemon pudding mix. And this is my secret ingredient. It's not going to just add that artificial lemon flavoring to the cake, but pudding mix also has cornstarch. And so having cornstarch in your cakes is going to help add moisture. And so that's exactly what I would like in my cake. I like for it to be not just fluffy, but to be moist. And so that's what you're going to do with the lemon pudding mix. And so we're going to add in the second box here. Just add it on in. And this is a lot of ingredients in the sifter. And so it may take you a while when you start sifting it, and it may give you a little workout, but you're just going to go ahead and sift it out. And then we'll be back once we're done with that. All right, so you see here, we have sifted all of our ingredients. This is the last of it's coming out. And so you may notice that may be some small particles at the bottom of the sifter. You can try to press those down and get it sifted as well, but it's really not important that you really do that. You just can go ahead and throw the remaining stuff out. And so you're going to get a whisk, and you're going to go ahead and give the dry ingredients a stir just to make sure it's incorporated. And then you're going to go ahead and set it to the side as we start creaming the butter, sugar, and oil. All right, family. So we're actually going to start the process of mixing this cake. And so the first step is to cream your butter, oil, and sugar. And so this recipe requires 2 sticks or 1 cup of softened unsalted butter. And so I always recommend you, especially with the butter, just go ahead and set that out overnight so that it's room temperature by the time you start to mix your cake. and it just makes mixing the cake a lot easier when everything is at room temperature. And so, as I stated here, this recipe calls for 2 sticks of unsalted butter. So you go ahead and add in the second stick here. And then we're going to go ahead and add in 3/4 cup of vegetable oil. You can use canola oil if you want, but I had vegetable oil in the cabinet, so that's what I'm using. So go ahead and add that. And so now you're going to go ahead and close this up and turn your stand mixer on to a medium to high speed and let this go for about a minute or two. And then we're going to come back and start adding our sugar. So we'll be back with the sugar. All right, family. So now we have right here, this is 3 cups of regular sugar. I've already pre-measured those out and put it into this bowl just to save some time. And so what I'm going to do now is gradually add that or incorporate that into the stand mixer with that butter and oil. And so I have the stand mixer on a medium high speed right now. And so what you want to do is go ahead and while that's still mixing, add in the sugar. And you may notice that the stand mixer may slow down just a little bit because that oil, sugar, and butter is going to start to crystallize and it's going to start coming together. If you notice that, just after you add the sugar, just go ahead and turn the stand mixer up on full speed. And you're going to let that go for probably about another 2 to 3 minutes. And then we'll come back with our lemon zest and start incorporating our other flavors. So you see here, I am turning the stand mixer up and I'm going to let this go for about 2 to 3 minutes. We'll be back. All right, so this has been going for about 2 minutes. And so we're going to go ahead and turn off the stand mixer. And once we open up, as you can see there, this is exactly what you want. Once you cream the butter, sugar, and oil to the right consistency, it should look like this. It's pale white, it's fluffy in texture, it's thick, and so that's exactly what you're looking for. So now that we've gotten it to this point, this is where you want to add in your flavorings. And so what I'm going to incorporate now is that lemon zest. You remember those 2 lemons that we zested earlier? Well, we're going to go ahead and incorporate that right here. So go ahead and put that on in there. And this, along with the lemon juice that you've squeezed, that's going to give the cake that natural lemon flavor. And so now that we've incorporated the lemon zest, we're going to go ahead and get that lemon juice. And so this is about 1/4 cup right here. This is 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And so that's about 2 lemons. And so go ahead and incorporate that. All right. So now we're going to put in some artificial flavorings. And so that's going to be your pure vanilla, your lemon extract, and your cake batter extract. So we're going to start with the vanilla. You see here. So this recipe requires 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So we're going to go ahead and add in our first teaspoon and then our second one. All right. So now that you've put that in there, you want to go ahead and get your lemon extract and you're going to put in 2 teaspoons of that. So there you go, and lemon extract. So here's our first teaspoon and then our second. All right. So last but not least, we're going to add in our cake batter extract, and this just gives the cake. I can't really explain it. It's uh, like a vanilla nutty flavor to it. I think that it goes well with the lemon and strawberry cakes, and so we're going to add 1 teaspoon of this cake batter extract. add in that. And we are done adding in our flavors right now. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and close this up and turn this on to about medium speed and let this go for probably about a minute. And we'll be back. All right, y'all. So we've incorporated our flavorings and allowed that to mix for about 1 minute. So now that we've done that, we want to go ahead and turn off our stand mixer. And I'm going to take this time to scrape down the sides and the bottom of the bowl. And so this is something that you want to do periodically throughout the mixing process, just to make sure that anything like butter or sugar has not been stuck to the bottom and it's not been properly mixed into cake. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and close our stand mixer back up, and we're going to turn it back on to a medium speed. And this is where we're going to incorporate our 6 large eggs. And so as I stated before, your egg should be at room temperature. And what I did is cracked 6 large eggs into this measuring cup here. And what we want to do is you want to add in 1 egg at a time, allowing each egg to fully mix before adding the next. And so what I did here is add in our first egg. I'm just going to wait a few seconds until that's fully incorporated. And then I'm going to go in with my second egg. And you're just going to repeat this process until all your eggs are incorporated. So yes, sometimes eggs can be stubborn, and sometimes 2 eggs can flop into the mixing bowl at once. That's not a big issue. Just allow those 2 eggs just to beat into the mixture fully, and then you add in the next egg. So do not sweat when things like that happen. It's all right. Just allow whatever you put into the mixing bowl to mix in, and then just go from there. All right, so this is our 5th egg. So after we get through adding in our last egg, just allow the stand mixer to go for probably just a few more seconds. You do not want to overmix this. And so what we're going to do now is start to add our dry ingredients and our milk. So we'll be back. All right, y'all. So now it's time to incorporate our dry ingredients and our buttermilk. So as you see here, this is the dry ingredients that we put together earlier. And so what you want to do in terms of using this mixing method is that you're going to add in the dry ingredients, and then you're going to add in the buttermilk. And you're going to alternate between the two. But the key is that you want to start with the dry and end with the dry. So as you see here, I added about 1/3 of our dry ingredients. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn on our stand mixer to low speed, and I'm just going to allow that to mix for a few seconds. And so you want to mix just until you see that flour incorporated, and then you're going to go in with your first addition of the buttermilk. And I may not have mentioned this, but this is a 1.5 cups of buttermilk. So as you see here, both of those has been incorporated. So now it's time to go in with another 1/3 of your flour mixture. And just be careful. Just use your own judgment, but make sure that you're not adding in too much of the flour mixture at once, because if you don't have this cap that I have, like I have on my stand mixer, then if you turn your stand mixer on with all that flour, it's just going to go all over the place. And so to prevent that, just make sure that you're adding it in using thirds like I am. All right, so I'll turn the stand mixer back on, and I'm going to allow this to go for a few seconds until I see that the flour's been incorporated. And now we're going to add in the remaining of our buttermilk. All right. So how I do is that I add the dry ingredients 3 times. I add the buttermilk twice, and so I finished off the buttermilk, and now I'm going to go in with the last of our flour mixture. And as you see, the cake batter does have a yellow color to it already, and that's coming from that lemon pudding mix. And so those 2 boxes of lemon pudding mix, that's what's giving the batter that yellow color. But what I'm going to do is I want that color to be a little darker, and so I'm going to add in some yellow food coloring. And so what I'm going to do is allow this this mixture to mix in, and then I'm going to add that food coloring. let this go for a few more seconds. And the key to this is you don't want to overmix, and so you don't need your cake batter to be smooth. You just want it to mix until everything is incorporated, like I'm doing here. And so now I'm gonna go and get my yellow food coloring. All right, and I have the food coloring right here. And so I'm just gonna add in just a few squirts of this. And this is just gonna add a little bit more darkness to that yellow. Add one more. All right, I think that's enough. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and turn the stand mixer off, and then I'm gonna just mix rest of this cake batter with my whisk. We'll be back. All right, family, so we're almost there. So as you see, I removed the cake batter from the stand mixer, and I'm just gonna finish mixing the cake with my whisk. And so the key to baking cakes is that you don't want to overmix your batter. And so some people believe that they need to use a stand mixer or use the hand mixers to make sure that the batter is smooth. You don't want to do that. You just want to make sure that you're mixing your cake to where everything is incorporated, and then once everything is incorporated, let's go ahead and put it into the pans. And so that's what we're going to do right here. I've already sprayed our 9.5-inch cake pans with our pan perfect release. And honestly, I would normally use Baker's Joy, but Walmart didn't have it. And y'all know how Walmart is. You go in there looking for a certain thing, and they have everything but that thing you're looking for. So that's what happened with the whole Baker's Joy. But Pan Perfect Release is just as good. So what I'm doing here is that I'm adding in a little bit of the cake batter, and then I just take the pan and kind of move it just to make sure that I'm leveling things off. And then I'll add a little bit more, and I'm pretty much just judging it based on the weight. The perfect way to do this is if you had a scale, you would add in your cake batter to each pan, and then you will weigh them to make sure that they were equal weight. But I don't have a scale, and so I'm just pretty much doing it by eye. And so what you want to do is add in some of your cake batter to each pan, and just based on how it looks, add a little bit more to each pan until it looks even, and then you can then pick it up and hold it and make sure like okay, that seems about right in terms of the weight, and then you'll be good. So no cake is gonna be perfect. You know, your layers may not be perfectly leveled, but that's why you have trimmers to trim cakes down so you can make them level. So that's something you can do after the cake is baked. So what we're gonna do is leave it here, and then we'll be back. All right, y'all. So all I'm doing here is just shaking the pans, giving them a little pat on the counter, just to make sure that's leveled off. And I'm also checking for the weight. This is, just to see if all the cake pans are evenly weighted. And so they are. And so what I already did is preheat the oven to 350. I'm gonna go ahead and throw these bad boys in the oven, and we'll be back. All right, y'all. So after baking at 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes, this is what we have. They look really good and golden. And so now we're going to work on our lemon buttercream frosting. All right, family. So now that we've baked our cakes, we're going to start on the lemon buttercream frosting. And so what I have here is 4 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature. I went ahead and measured out 8 cups. Yes, I said 8 cups of powdered sugar. We have some lemon extract, some vanilla extract. And another thing that I did off camera is that I went ahead and zested another 2 lemons. And so here's that lemon zest here. All right, y'all see that? That's the zest of 2 lemons. And I went ahead and juiced and those 2 lemons as well. So that's 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then last but not least, I have some salt. There it is. And so this is the ingredients you are going to need to make your buttercream frosting. And so as you see here, this is unsalted butter. I'm going to go ahead and add all 4 sticks to our stand mixer. And so it's very, very important that these are at room temperature. You want it, you see how that's already kind of sliding down the stand mixer or the bowl. That's exactly what you want. It just makes mixing the butter and the sugar a lot easier when it's at room temperature. And so y'all do not judge me. I am not a cake decorator. I'm not one yet. I just started making my own frosting a few years ago, and so I'm still getting the hang of doing that. And then hopefully I will get to actually professionally decorating cakes. But as of right now, this cake is not going to look professional, but it's going to be damn good. All right, so this is our fourth stick of unsalted butter. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw these away. And what you want to do is go ahead and close this up, and you're going to mix these 4 sticks of butter on a high speed for about 3 to 4 minutes. You want it to come out after those 3 or 4 minutes. It should look kind of a pale white color. And once we got to that point, then we'll start to add in our flavorings. Y'all, my stand mixer wasn't even plugged up, so let me plug this up real quick. I got a little too excited and didn't even plug up the stand mixer. All right, so here we go. So start off a little slow and then gradually increase that speed. And yes, the stand mixer is gonna start jumping around like that. That's fine. Butter is kind of still heavy, but just allow it to go for about 3 to 4 minutes, and we will be back. All right, so we've allowed that to mix on a high speed for about 3 minutes. And so what we're gonna do is turn off our stand mixer. And as you can see there, the butter is very mixed, and it's has that pale white look, and so that's exactly what we're looking for. So what we're gonna do now is add in our lemon zest. So as you know, we did zest 2 lemons for this frosting, and so you're gonna go ahead and incorporate that lemon zest now. Just add it in there. And so after this lemon zest, we're going to add in our salt. Now, I want to caution everyone when it comes down to adding salt. You only want to add in just enough to balance off the sweetness of the powdered sugar. And so with this recipe, I'm only adding in 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Remember when I made this frosting for the first time a few years ago, I added a little bit too much salt, and when I was eating the cake, I could actually taste the salt in the frosting. So it was good, but frosting does not supposed to be salty, and so just be mindful of that. And so with this, we're gonna add in. Here's our salt. I'm gonna add in only 1/4 teaspoon. All right. So now that we've added that, we're gonna go ahead and close it back up, and we're gonna let this mix for another 2 minutes, and then we'll be back when we start incorporating the powdered sugar. All right, so we've allowed that to mix for 2 minutes. So what you're gonna do is turn off your stand mixer, and you're gonna take this time to scrape down the sides and the bottom of the bowl. Because this is butter, it's still very dense. It's getting stuck to the bottom. It's getting stuck to the sides of the bowl. You just want to make sure you're scraping that down. So after we do that, we're going to start to incorporate this 8 cups or these 8 cups of powdered sugar. Now I'm gonna get one of my measuring cups and I'm just gonna add two in there at a time. So I'm gonna add two in there, close the stand mixer, and let it mix. Now I would caution you need to trust the process because as you add the powdered sugar, the frosting is going to get very dense. Your stomach is going to start to slow down, but once it fully incorporates, it's going to speed back up, and then that's your cue to add in more sugar. So you're going to continue to do that until all your sugars incorporated, and then we're going to come back and start adding our extracts and more lemon flavoring. All right, so that's our first, and then we'll be back when we incorporated all the sugar. All right, y'all. So we're back after Incorporating all 8 cups of that powdered sugar, this is what we're looking like right now, and so it's very dense, and that's fine. We're not done just yet. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and reset our stand mixer. You know, you may wanna scrape down the sides of your bowl, reset the paddle, uh, and then we're gonna start to add some liquids that's gonna help start loosening this, frosting. So what we're gonna do first is the lemon juice, and so from those 2 lemons that we zested, we also got this 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So you wanna go ahead and add that. Alright, and so now we're gonna add in 2 teaspoons of lemon extract. And so this is gonna give the, frosting just that extra burst of lemon flavor. Alright, so here we are. So we're gonna add 2 teaspoons. We're going in with our first, and then we're gonna add our second. Alright, so after this, we're gonna add in our vanilla. So you will add in, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Alright, so we're gonna go in with our first, and then our second. All right, so once we've incorporated that, we're gonna close the stand mixer and we're gonna allow this to mix on for probably about another 2 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna start incorporating our milk. All right, y'all. So we've allowed this to mix for another 2 minutes, and as you can see there, the consistency of our frosting has really come together. It's loosened up with the addition of those extracts and that lemon juice. So what we're going to do now is add in a little milk. So I know that this looks like a little milk, and we're not going to even use most of this. You just want to add in the milk about a teaspoon at a time, and you just want to judge it because what you don't want to do is incorporate too much milk because then your frosting is going to be very loose. And then if it's very loose, you will have to add more powdered sugar, and you don't want to go through all that. And so just judge it and put in just small amounts of milk, just to make sure that your frosting is going to remain it's going to be spreadable but very firm. So that if we wanted to decorate, we could do that. So what I'm doing right now is checking it, and it is the consistency that I'm looking for. It's, loose enough to easily spread on the cake, but it's firm enough to, if I wanted to decorate the cake, which I'm not gonna do with this particular cake, but if I wanted to, I would be able to do that with this consistency. So you see there, I did a little taste test, and so what we're gonna do now is add in our, yellow food coloring, as you see here, and so I'm gonna close this back up. I'm gonna turn our stand mixer back on to a high speed, and then we'll be back when we start to incorporate that yellow gel paste food coloring. All right, y'all. So it's time to add in our food coloring. And so what I'm going to do is add in about 4 drops of this. And you're going to use your own judgment based on however you want your frosting to look in terms of the color, whether you want it bright, whether you want it dark. It's up to you. I'm just going for a kind of a bright yellow. And so after my 4th drop here, as you notice, it's really gotten to that nice bright yellow color. And so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and turn this stand mixer up to a high speed for about another minute, and then we'll come back when our frosting is finally complete. All right, y'all. So here we are. This is the frosting. It is nice and bright yellow. It's fluffy. It's very spreadable. And now we're ready to start frosting our cakes. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get those ready, and then we'll be right back. All right, y'all. So we're at the final stage of this cake. It's time to start frosting. And so what we're gonna do is take our first layer of cake here, and this is a turntable that I got from Amazon. It actually came in a kit with some piping bags and some piping tips. So it was pretty cheap. It was probably like maybe $20 for everything. And so I recommend getting one of those if you can. If you don't have one, it doesn't really make a difference. You'll be fine, but I just find it a little easier to have a turntable when you're frosting your cakes. especially for a 3-layer cake like this. And so what we're gonna do is apply a good generous layer of frosting to the top of this layer, and then we're gonna add in the second layer and do the same for that. And then we're gonna add in our final layer, and then that's when we're gonna start adding in a lot more of the frosting to frosting the top of the cake and along the sides. And so as you see here, our frosting is very spreadable. It's firm enough. If I want to get a piping bag to actually do some decorations with this, I could. But like I said, I am not a good cake decorator yet. So I'm gonna just staying clear of doing that right now. But you just add a nice generous layer of frosting to this layer here. And then we're going to go ahead and then add our second layer of cake. All right, so as you see, I'm going for my second layer. And so you're just gonna place this right on top. Make sure that you're leveling it as best you can, that the cakes are even with each other when you do place it on top of each other. Just to make sure that it's not your cake won't be lopsided or anything like that. And so what I did here is that I figured that this layer that I'm picking up right now was a little bit more even in terms of how it baked. So I wanted to use that in my center layer, or the center part of the cake. So that's what I did here. I just placed it on top. And now I'm going to begin adding a generous layer of frosting on top of this layer of cake. All right, so I'm gonna do. I actually went over there to wash my hands because things can get kind of messy. So I'm just gonna dry my hands, and then now I'm gonna go ahead and start applying this frosting. So I'm not gonna bore you all with me decorating this cake. It's gonna be pretty simple, and so what I'm gonna do is end it here, and then I'm gonna come back with the finished product. All right, y'all, this is it. We, after about a few hours of working on this cake, this is our final product. This, I gotta say, y'all, this is a very big cake. And so as you see there, I added all the layers, I added the frosting, I frosted the top and the sides of the cake. And so what we're gonna do now is go ahead and cut a slice of this and go ahead and taste it. Y'all, I'm very excited about this. This cake smells very good. And so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut a slice, and I'll come right back to show y'all what that looks like. And y'all, here it is. This cake was so good. It was rich. It was moist. It's everything you want in a nice piece of cake. And so I definitely recommend using this recipe. You would definitely not be disappointed. All right, everyone, that is it for today's episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the first episode of King's Creations with Nick. As I stated before, that recipe for this cake will be in the description box. And so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And also, please subscribe to Monarch Entertainment Studios. We greatly appreciate it. So until next time, thank y'all, God bless y'all, and good night from the Queen City.